Hi everyone, hope you're having a great day today. My name is Frank, and for this video, I wanted to talk about the apps that I have found most helpful in tracking different aspects of my life. There's a fun quote out there that says, "What is measured gets managed." And I'm an addict when it comes to tracking just different aspects of my life and seeing where I'm progressing and where I'm not progressing so much. So I've compiled this list of different apps that I found super useful for other people like me who really like to measure their progress in a bunch of different things. This is not meant to be some all-inclusive list and just contains apps that I have used repeatedly over and over again to track things consistently. So hopefully this video gives you some value, and by the end of it you have some new tools to experiment with. By the way, it doesn't matter if you use iOS or Android, as all of these are included in both the App Store and the Android Google Play Store. But as always, before we get into it, make sure to destroy that like button for the YouTube algorithm so that I can track how well this video is doing. So anyway, let's get started with by far the most important app on this list, and that would be YNAB. YNAB stands for You Need a Budget, and it is my preferred budgeting tool and is the most important on this list primarily because it prevents me from going into bankruptcy. The desktop version is the one that I use the most, but the on-the-go version, so the app, is excellent because you have right there in your hand how much money you have left for things like eating out, buying books, or fun money in general. So when you're out and about, you still have access to your budget and you know how much money you can spend given any expense. And by the way, if you happen to go out with me somewhere and you see me just glancing at my phone repeatedly while we're waiting for a checkout line or something like that, or at a restaurant, this is very likely what I'm checking just to see how much money I can spend. And I feel really bad about it too sometimes because I think it's incredibly rude to use your phone when you're out with other people, but at the same time I need to know how much money I can actually spend, so it just is what it is. Anyways, the app itself is free to download, but you can't really use the features unless you have an account with YNAB, and that will cost you $7 a month, which personally I gladly pay for because I'm convinced it's already paid for itself because it's affected my finances so much and it's made budgeting so much easier for me. There are other free budgeting apps out there. I've tried a bunch of them. This is just the one that I stuck with the most and the one that works for me. I really love the zero-based budgeting system that it uses. This just means that inside YNAB, I have to assign every single dollar that I have to a certain thing. So every time I input a dollar into YNAB, that dollar has to be designated to go to things like retirement or fun money, etc. You get the point. And YNAB also becomes this giant hub where I can check all of my accounts in one place, which is extremely handy, especially considering that when you add up all of my accounts together, so credit cards, debit cards, savings accounts, brokerage accounts, that adds up to like more than 12 different accounts, and it would be a huge pain to have to log into 12 different places individually. So having YNAB just organize everything in one page is beautiful. It also gives you some very nice reports such as your net worth or how much you've spent the last few months. So it makes budgeting a fun challenge for me. So I try to bring that number down every single month and save more money down the line. For number 2 on the list, we're going to talk about Goodreads. And Goodreads is the app that I use to track every single book that I read, and I really wish I would have started using this much sooner. What this app does is that it lets you divide and list books into 3 main categories. So, want to read, currently reading, and read. So for example, want to read. If you've ever been out with a group of friends and maybe you've heard of a really nice book, usually what people do is they jot it down on like a note, maybe on their notes app on their iPhone, or they try to remember and just forget. With Goodreads, you can literally just look up the book, add it to your want to read list, and then when you're looking for some inspiration and want to buy a new book, you have this really nice long list of books that you've heard are great and that you can pick from. Then when you pick a book from that want to read list and you start reading it, you can mark it as currently reading. And this makes the book pop up at the top of your profile page so that people know what you're currently looking at. You can also mark which page on the book you're currently at. So this makes it really fun because, for example, if you're on page 200, the Goodreads app will let you know, oh, you finished 70% of the book by now. And then when you open up the Goodreads app again and you log that you're at page 300, it tells you that, oh, you're 90% done with the book by now. So it makes reading into a bit of a fun game. Finally, once you're actually done reading a book, there's a I've finished this book button that you click on that and the book gets automatically added to your read list. So now you'll have this handy list of books that you've read and maybe you give them a rating, maybe you reviewed them, but now you know what you liked and you didn't like in case you want to give other people a reference in the future. Besides that, you can also make additional custom tags. So if you go to my profile, which I'm going to put a link in the description below if you're curious for whatever reason, you'll see that I have a did not finish tag for books that I just didn't finish, either because I just didn't like them or because I lost interest. And I also have a life-changing tab where I list books that have significantly impacted my life in some way. And that just makes it so easy to refer back to the books that I really, really enjoyed, and I can read them at later points in life and maybe get a new meaning from them. Like I said before, this app really makes reading into a sort of game where I really like just opening a book, reading a few pages every now and then, and updating the page that I'm at on Goodreads so I see that progress bar go up just a little bit. These are like little gimmicks, but I promise you, I've read a lot more than I would have otherwise if I didn't have Goodreads. And as a bonus, the app actually gives you a nice review of the books you read for a certain year. So for example, this is my 2020 year in books, and it's just a nice little gimmick, I guess, because it gives you a nice overview of everything you've read, and it makes you reminisce about books you liked or didn't like. I think this is super cool and super geeky and interesting, and I love it. For number 3, this is the app that's helped me the most in losing weight the last few months, and I've lost 20 pounds just because of it, and that is MyFitnessPal. You start out in this app by just listing a few basic facts about you that it will ask you. So I think it asks for your age, your current weight, your goal weight, and then what activity level you're at, so active or sedentary, for example. And then after that, it'll give you a daily calorie limit to aim for so that you start losing weight every single week, just a little bit at a time, depending on how rigorous you want to be with your diet. It's basically just a very good calorie tracking app. So it gives you that set limit of calories that you want to aim for. And then whenever you want to eat something, it's super easy. You use your phone, you scan the barcode of whatever food you want to eat, which most foods have a barcode. And then that will download all of the nutritional facts from that food to your phone, and then you'll see how many calories that food has and how many calories you have left for the day. You can also use it for exercises, which I didn't use it for that. I strictly used it for the calorie thing rigorously for a few months. And it went great for me because weight loss is really like 80% diet and 20% exercise. Also, using it made me realize that I was eating maybe more than 4,000 calories a day sometimes without even noticing. And I don't live a very active lifestyle, by the way, so that was no bueno. I still use this app sometimes, just nowhere near as much as before, just because I've gotten to my goal weight, first of all, but also I've gotten more of an idea of what I can and can't eat just because I was rigorously tracking my calories for a few months. But if you're unhappy with your current weight, like I was a few months ago, and you want something to try out, I would definitely recommend this app. Just stick to it. It's free. You have nothing to lose. Moving on to number 4 is Google Maps. And no, I don't mean using Google Maps for something like directions, which it's great at giving directions, but I use it for actually tracking where I've been or places I've traveled to. And while it's not like the best solution for that, it definitely is the best one that I have found so far. So the idea is that you make a custom map and add pins on that map of the places you've been to or something like that. And the biggest problem is that you can't actually add pins from your phone, not that I'm aware of. And you actually have to go on a computer or desktop to add pins to your map. But after it's there, you can access the map from your phone, so you have all of that data at the palm of your hand. I started using Google Maps to basically track the hotels that I've been to, and actually, if you go to my website and see this post that I'm going to put on the screen now, if you find this post, this map with a bunch of pins on it is exactly what Google Maps allows you to do with the places that you've been. So you can record everything and have this nice visual representation of where you've traveled to. But I also do use the system to privately track restaurants and rate them, actually, based on the Borderlands video game system, if you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, just don't worry about it. I'm going to show you guys how to actually make one of these maps right now. So the first step, as always, is just to go to the Google homepage, and from here we'll search for My Maps. From there, we click on this first link, says My Maps Google, and we sign in. So after we sign in, it's going to take us to this page right here. It should be empty if you don't have any custom maps. Just go to Create New Map. And now you can just start adding layers to it. So I'm going to take you guys into my actual map for a second so we can see how adding things looks like. Okay, so this is my actual map, and you'll see I have here on the left side all the different categories. I'm just going to do the first 3 maybe. There you go. So you'll see they're all ranked by color, and it's pretty cool. The way to add anywhere, just type up here. We'll go to my favorite restaurant in the world, which is Caviar and Bull, the one in Budapest to be specific. To add something, just click Add to Map. We can change the color, make it gold, give it a little food icon, and just drag it all the way up. And that's how you add stuff to maps. And then after you've compiled a bunch of data into a map, for example, my restaurants map, you'll have a really nice condensed list of places where you've been and where you've rated. So it's like your mini own private TripAdvisor. So next time you want to go on a date or maybe a friend asks for a recommendation, you have a super nice reference to refer back to. And finally, to round out this video is the app that I use to track my workouts. And this is something, honestly, I haven't used it for a hot minute there, just because after I reached my goal weight, it just went downhill from there. But I am committed to getting back into it just to increase my sex appeal for that future potential partner. I actually found this awesome routine online that anyone can do at home on the subreddit r/bodyweightfitness called the recommended routine. The problem is that just by looking at it and looking at their FAQ for the recommended routine, it's kind of overwhelming at first. So what this app does is it just breaks that routine down into very simple steps. It lists everything you have to do in order, and it's honestly like a giant to-do list for your workout. So it lists everything in order. It has like a little checkmark thing that you click off when you do one exercise, and for every single exercise, it usually has some sort of YouTube link attached to it that shows you how to do that workout correctly. Also, in case you advance from one workout to another workout, for example, you go from doing negative pull-ups to doing actual pull-ups, you just adjust that level and the whole routine automatically takes that into consideration and adjusts for it. In addition to all of that, which is free by the way, the app is free and the web application is free just for the checklist thing. If you want to go a step further and pay for it, which is like $45 a year, it actually tracks your individual workouts. So for example, if you did 5 push-ups like a month ago, and then this month you can do 7 push-ups, you'll see that slow progression going up, which is great. Also, it doesn't only include the recommended routine, like I mentioned before, in that app. It actually has a bunch of other bodyweight fitness routines. So if you're very into bodyweight fitness, you don't want to go to a gym like I do, and you don't want to invest in weights, this is a perfect app for you. And that wraps it up for today, guys. I'm going to leave a link in the description below to my blog post on these 5 apps and how I use them to track things in my life. Before heading out, make sure to click that like button on this video, subscribe if you like this content, and finally, have yourself a great and wonderful day. I will catch you guys later.